Hello beautiful makeup lovers, thank you so much for tuning in with me today and a very warm welcome to my channel. Today I want to do a kind of a palette roundup, so I want to give reviews collectively on palettes that I didn't really do anything on my channel yet, like I didn't do a first impression, or I also didn't do like the review with the two looks for various reasons. I'm gonna get into this when I am talking about the palettes that I picked for today. And some of them I did use on my channel, but I didn't do like this full review on them for also various reasons. You will see. So they're gonna be 7 palettes that we're gonna speak about. And if you want to see that, then let's get started. Okay, so the first two palettes I want to speak about are two palettes from Strobe Cosmetics, the Divinity Palette and the Creepy Cute palette. So with the Divinity Palette, I do have a first impression on my channel, but basically I wanted to do a review where I do a look with like one look with each of the palette and then a review on both of them. And I filmed those looks, and then I realized that kind of my footage was corrupted or something, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna speak about them in this roundup, and yeah, so why not? So let's speak first about the Divinity palette. I really like the Divinity palette. It's a cute 8-pan palette. I love smaller palettes. I really like what I used in my first impression look, the colors, this color Oshun, the color Hathor, Ketesh. They're really nice, they're really cool, like I had them on my upper lid. And I did use the color Milder and Busted on the lower lash line. And yeah, so also these three I didn't use in my first impression look, so I used almost all the shades on camera already with this palette. So with this palette I really like it, I really do. The only color that is just not 100% like I wanted it to be is this color Milder down here, but it's a really like high complaint. Like all of them are really beautiful. I even love these two more neutral leaning ones, and that's really rare for me that I don't mind them usually. I don't find them bad, these colors, but I usually don't have a strong opinion, but I really like those two, so they're really pretty. The color Aphrodite is also really nice. It's like this really salmony reddish leaning tone. I really like this kind of tones. Like I have definitely a weakness for this kind of colors. And also this color Hathor here, I love it as a highlighter shade or all over the lid to put it on one top of one of the mattes. Super pretty, I really like it. The color Ketesh is a bit of a different formula than the color Hathor, which is weird, but it is like this. This is one of these like creamy shimmers, which almost feels like oil base a little bit. I don't know how they do that, but I hope you know what I mean. Well, this is more of a like powdery but creamy. I hope this makes sense. Anyway, so the color Milder down here is the only one that I don't like too much. I can show you a swatch. I mean, swatches don't always tell the whole story, I know that. Let me build it up a little bit. And if you put it on a tacky base, it definitely gets prettier, and this shade is not really flattering for swatching. It does look better than swatched on here on my arm, but it's just, I feel it doesn't have this kind of like intense forest green that I wanted it to have. I really wanted this to be this really foresty, muted green for fall, but I feel like it could be having more impact. So this one is definitely like 7 of the 8 shades are really nice. I really like them, and I would totally recommend this palette if you're into this color story. I think it's a great buy. And just the green is not what I hope for, but maybe it's what you hope for. I don't know, like it's just not my perfect like green for fall. I don't know. Okay, so let's move on to the Creepy Cute palette. This one is a pastel palette that looks like this. This palette has already a lot of raving reviews. I don't know in which angle you can see the true colors of it. Maybe like this? I hope so. Okay, This palette is really nice. Like I never found a palette that had that pigmented pastels. That's really, really cool. I really like that. Let me just show you maybe this one, Creep It Real. Is so nice. I don't think the swatches do it any kind of justice. I have to build it up a bit because I don't want to show the swatch and you're like, what are you talking about? That does look not nice. But do you see that? It's such a nice pastel, and if you put those on your eyes, they're so pigmented, they're so pretty. I don't even mind that it has a black matte, to be entirely honest, because the black matte is good. It's really good. It's a good black matte. I'm not a huge fan of black mattes, but I feel like in this palette it makes sense that you have all these options. And I heard a lot of people complaining that they have the color Tombstone and Void, like the black matte and the grey matte in here, that it's both in the palette. But I think it makes sense actually. I'm usually not a huge fan of this, but in this palette I somehow like it. And I think this is a beautiful palette. If I have one complaint, then it would be the color Take a Hint, which is this pastel green. This is, I think, it's again the green. I don't know what this is. Maybe I don't have that good of a grip on the greens. Anyway, the green is not my favorite pastel green, so, but these two up here, especially the blues, like this one is more of a teal shade, while this one is more of a true blue. And also this color Strawberry Milk and Third Eye, they are on point, on point. The color Planchette is also really good. Is a matte, is a pastel lila, a pastel violet, and purple. It's purple. I don't know, there's so many names for this color. Anyway, the only color that I feel could have been a bit more pumped is the pastel green, but to be honest, it's still a good pastel green. I just was like, after I used in the first look these two, and then together with the color Planchette, and I darkened up everything a bit with the color Void. That was so pigmented, and then I was the next time like really pumped to go into the color Take a Hint, the green, and it was just not the same. I don't know, like I just felt like that this were on a different level than this one, but it's still good. It's just not as awesome as these. This is just good, I would say. I hope you know what I mean. So all over, I'm really pleased with these two palettes, with the Divinity and the Creepy Cute palette. Out of the 16 shades that both palettes offer, I do like almost all of them. So I like really 14. One is good but not awesome, and one is like, I expected differently. So I think it's a pretty good deal that I made there, and I love small palettes. Like I love 8-pan palettes, or like under 10 is really nice for me, because I think it challenges the creativity you have to put on the palette, and I think the color stories are really well thought through for being small palettes. And I really like when color stories of small palettes are thought through. I think they're a good deal. If I have to choose one that I just like more, I probably would say the Divinity, even though it has that one shade that let me a bit down. But it's just like, I like pastel looks, but I don't do pastel looks like crazy often. I like the Creepy Cute, but it's just, I think pastel is very specific. I do like pastel looks, but it's nothing I do like super often. So probably if I could only have one of them, I would have the Divinity, because it's just more up to the things that I usually do. But this one is really good. Like, it's just because it's pastel, which I knew before, of course, and I'm happy I have now a really good pastel palette in my collection. So when I feel like doing it, I can. But I do think that it's just this one that I will reach for more often, just because it's not pastel. But it's not a minus for this one, it's just the kind of style that you need to think. So if you're more into pastel, I think you definitely will have a good deal with this one. The next palette I want to speak about is this one, from the collaboration between Beauty Bay and Jordan Lipscombe. This one is a Trooper palette. It's one of these eyeshadow palettes that has also 2 highlighters in them. That's okay, that's already a point that I'm like, but of course I knew that when I bought a palette. But anyway, I never use highlighters in eyeshadow palettes because I'm going to store this with my eyeshadow palettes and then I'm just going to forget that the highlighters are there. Anyway, so I did do also first impression with this one on my channel. I used already all the shades in there in this first impression. If you want to see them applied, you can jump into there. I'm going to leave it linked up here. And yeah, so I think this is an okay palette. I don't think it's a bad palette. I don't think it's a good, really good palette either. I think it has its purpose. I think it's a nice one. But I don't really see myself reaching for it a ton. Like, I do like this green shimmer. I think that's really pretty. The mattes are okay. Again, these greens are a bit patchy, to be honest. I don't know, like, I tried them on a tacky base, on a satin base. I tried packing them first and then blending them out. I tried blending them out straight. They always ended up a bit, not crazy, but a bit patchy. So these two browns here are alright. They're good browns, but it's nothing that drives me crazy or something, in the sense of like, ooh, I have a good brown. I don't know. And yeah, these two shimmers are also good, but also nothing breathtaking. So I think it's an alright palette. And from the highlighter point of view, I really don't like these highlighters. They're very, very powdery and it's just really not what I like. I don't like powdery highlights. They fly everywhere. Like, when I use them, I do have to kind of tap in with the finger so they stick a bit better. But even then, they would go everywhere. They would be everywhere. So I probably will never use those highlighters, to be entirely honest. So yeah, it's an okay palette, but if I have to compare, it's like €22.50 on Beauty Bay, and that's kind of in the price range with Juvia's Place, with Zoeva, and another, like, if you put a few euros more, like Blush Stripe, for example. And to be honest, I would, if I have to buy a palette in this price range, I'd probably not buy this one again. So it's nothing I would definitely miss in my collection or something. I would not rebuy this. I'm happy to try it because I really wanted to try the Beauty Bay brand. But I don't know if I'm gonna picking up much more now. I don't know. I just am not that much into it. I don't think it's a bad palette, just to emphasize it. But the patchiness of the two green mattes, which I have been really eyeing, that's why I picked this palette, because of this down row, because you can do like a green eye look. But because they are quite patchy, I don't really do this. And yeah, the two browns are alright, but the two browns are definitely not why I bought this palette. And yeah, I don't know, like, it's just not up my alley. I don't think that it's a bad palette. It's just, for this price, to be honest, I would have thought I would get a bit more quality, to be entirely honest. So not my thing, not my thing. So the next palette I want to talk about is the Dragon Child palette from Makeup Monster Cosmetics, which are now Menagerie Cosmetics. So I'm just gonna call them Menagerie Cosmetics. But it says here like Makeup Monster Cosmetics, so just in case that I mentioned it. So the palette has this kind of like reflective surface. It does look like this. It doesn't come with a plastic sheet, people. This shows palettes don't have to come with a plastic sheet that covers them, because it still didn't get dirty or anything. Anyway, that was nice for me to receive. And so this palette has already a lot of reviews, and I bought it because of these reviews, because a lot of people that I like here on YouTube said that it's a good palette, that they love it absolutely, and I got it because of that. And I used it quite a bit. Like, I didn't use it very often, and I'm gonna get to it why. So this palette it's very, very, very pigmented. So it's like to the point pigmented that you can set your primer and you're still gonna get a lot of pigments, which is amazing. Like, everybody who's really into colorful eyeshadow and really wants this pigment there is gonna love the pigment in here. But I have a little bit of a problem with the palette, because these two blues here this one and this one, they stain my eyelids to a point that, like, I also have other palettes that stain my eyelids, like Juvia's Place palettes do this on me sometimes, or other palettes as well. But usually I take it off and it's a bit stained, but when I wake up in the next morning, it's just faded. This doesn't happen with these. Like this one and this one, they stay on my lid like forever. I feel like in the evening after I took like 12 hours later, I still can see them, you know. And if I put new eyeshadow, etc., I don't mind, but I have days where I do not wear eyeshadow and where I also don't feel like doing it. So, but if I wore this palette the day before, I better do it because it looks like my husband beat me up or something, which he doesn't, of course, but anyway, that's just crazy. So I don't, like, even though they are super pretty, like, let me show you. This one, crazy pigmented, like, look at this, and I still have so much on my finger. It's really a blue eyeshadow lover's dream on pigment. But look at this, I'm rubbing my finger on this, I'm really rubbing, and I still have blue. And I take it off here and it goes a bit better on the arm because it's not so textured, but I'm still, I hope you can see the stain, like, I don't know, like, it's just not my thing, this kind of stainedness. So I usually, even though I really love them, avoid these blues because that's what they do to my eyelids. And also you have like this color Dragon Child is really nice. This one doesn't stain as much my eyelids. I don't mind, like, a bit, but something that fades away fast. So this color I really like. I think it's a really pretty color. And I also really like the color Stone Drake. It's a little bit like of a pastel purple, while this one is more like kind of a true purple. But I don't see why both of them should have been in there. So they're both really good shades, but they have been both in there, and so usually I would reach for this one, and that's okay. So basically what I want to say with all the rambling is that for me the special colors in this palette are the Mytho Legend, the Dragon Rider, the Dragon Child, and I also like the purples, but that's nothing that I don't have yet in my collection. And I also like the Sleeping Dragon, which also has kind of a tendency to stain pretty much. But so because of this staining of the two blues, and I don't find myself reaching for it as often as I thought. Even though I'm amazed with the pigmentation, it just throws me off a little bit to use them. I don't know, I just don't think that it should be like that. Okay, so, but in general, this is a good quality. I love the shades. They blend out easy. They're pigmented, they're smooth. There's nothing you can really complain about except of the staining, which in my opinion is just a little bit too much. So if you don't mind, like, because you put eyeshadow anyway every day, then I don't think you will have a problem with this, but you really have to love pigmentation, like, to a big point. Like, if you think I'm fine with pigmentation but I want to be able to sheer them out, then this is not your palette. Like, if this is your palette, if you want really intense, in your face, pigmented, colorful looks, then that is your palette. Otherwise, I don't think it is, but I really like it. I have to see how I come around with this one in a long term. I have it now since like maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and I have a little bit of a difficult relationship with it at the moment, and I don't see it changing, but maybe it's something that one day I will wake up and like, that's how I'm going to incorporate this in my collection. So we will see. Okay, next up is this palette here. This is the Disco Queen palette from Exposed Cosmetics, and I did do a first impression with this a while ago already on my channel, and yes, you already maybe saw in this first impression, I don't really like this palette. It's not a palette. The mattes are not good. I have to say, they are really not good. And the shimmers, there are some shimmers which are actually really nice. Like this green here, this blue, this yellow, they're good. They're not bad or anything. And especially if you apply them with your finger, they have quite an impact even. But they do fade pretty fast. Like on me at least, they fade like within, I would say like 3 hours. You can realize that the color starts to fade. They crease really fast on me. So it's just not my palette. I just a bit gave up on it. It's just £10, so okay. But I think if I would lose this, I would not rebuy it by any chance. I think if you would steal this from my collection, I wouldn't even realize probably. But yeah, this is really not my thing, and I'm gonna go ahead and declutter the palette after this video. But it was a nice try to try a palette that is that affordable, colorful. The shimmers are kind of good, but they just fade so fast, and I'm just a bit frustrated with the palette. So I am, yeah, as I said, I'm gonna declutter it. I think I'm gonna pop out this shade here, the color, I don't know, they don't have name, this kind of like electric green, this one, because it's pretty unique in my opinion, in my collection, but the rest I'm just gonna get rid of, to be honest. So yeah, I'm sorry, this is not a good, affordable, colorful palette, but yeah, it was worth a try, I think. Okay, so the next palettes I'm gonna review are the Blush Stripe Fall Fusion palette and the Malika palette. So the Fall Fusion palette, I have actually a collab video with MAC up on my channel, which yeah, I'm just gonna link it up here and you will see what we did. I think it was a really cool video, and there we did 2 looks, both of us, with this palette. So definitely check out if you want to see looks, this video from me or the one from MAC. I'm gonna link it down below as well. And there you can see also looks with this palette in case you want to see it applied. So this palette, I definitely have a bit of troubles with the shimmers. I can make them work, but it takes me more effort than I'm used to with Blush Stripe. So they are very, very powdery somehow, and they're very dusty. And if you wet your brush, they tend to crust a bit, they skip a bit. So I recommend with those, picking them out on the brush and then only spray the brush, not wetting the brush and then go inside. And also just a little bit, and then really lightly. Don't pack it on like a lot, just lightly. Then those can work really nicely. But to be honest, I am not the biggest fan of these shimmers. I'm not used with Blush Stripe to have to work so much with the shimmers, so that's a bit of a minus for me with this palette. The mattes, I think they're all over good. I just have to complain about these 2 purples, the color Angelica and the color Aubergine. They are a bit patchy, they're difficult to build up, especially the color Angelica, unfortunately. Yeah, but the rest is fine, the rest I really like. So it's not my favorite Blush Stripe palette, I have to say, but it's also not a bad palette in general. I really love the color story. And the other mattes are all really nice, I really like them. Especially this color Midnight and the color October, they're really opaque and really pigmented, that's really nice. Not Your Finger Stays Forever Blue Dragonshine palette pigmented, but pigmented enough. Yeah, so I do enjoy this palette. I do grab for it once in a while, but not super often. I think I just was so blown away by the Hasina 2 that I was a bit like with this one. But I don't think it's a bad palette. I just think it's not their best work. I don't know if it's still available actually, because it was limited edition, but they said they might gonna bring it back in next fall season. So I don't know if this is really happening, but just to let you know. And yeah, so I'm not mad about that it was limited edition, because I do think it's not the best palette they have, but it's not a bad palette in general. So if you don't have any Blush Stripe palette and you're at the moment trying to figure out which one to get, I would say maybe get another one. It's still a good palette. I feel bad because Blush Tribe, I really love Blush Tribe, but this one is just not, it just didn't blow me away like the other palettes did. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this palette. And then I also want to review the Malika palette from them. This is a one they have already a bit longer in their collection. And this one is kind of for me like the opposite to the Hasina 2 palette, because the Hasina 2 is like greens, like cool tone greens, blues and purples, and this one is like warm toned reds, oranges, pinks, browns. So this is kind of the sister palette for me to the Hasina 2. And I picked it, like this one was a palette that I initially, when I discovered Blush Tribe, was a bit like skipping over because I thought it wouldn't be too much up my alley. I thought it would be like too neutral for me. But then I heard so many people speaking about it nicely, and I saw a lot of looks on Instagram that featured this palette. Of course, Instagram looks don't always tell you the truth or anything. But then in the end, when I ordered the Fall Fusion palette, I thought, okay, you know what, I'm gonna try it out. I was keep on being curious, and I thought I don't have too many neutral palettes, to be honest, but sometimes I like to add like one or two. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna order this. And I have to say, I'm really happy I did. I really like this palette. I think it's super amazing. This row in the middle here, the kind of purpley, pinkish, coralish row you can see is super pretty. I love it a lot. I think this is an amazing colors. These ones here are also really nice. The browns, I don't use the browns a ton, to be honest. I did use them once in a while, but not too much. The shimmers in here are a totally different story than in the Fall Fusion. They're more like in the Hasina 2 or in the Hasina palette, a bit more of this creaminess, you know. They don't really need a wet brush to totally shine. So they are really pretty and I really like them. And if you are into this color story, I think you have an amazing deal here. Yes, it might look repetitive actually when you see it here. I'm sorry, now you don't see me at all, but you see the palette. Anyway, so I think if you're in these colors, you're gonna have a good time with this palette. I really like it. It's my kind of neutral palette that is not too tuned down, if you know what I mean. Like you can do really this kind of like berry toned muted looks with this one, or really like with the browns you can also do a totally neutral look, and with the reds you can bring in a bit of fun if you feel like it. So I think that's a pretty nice palette if you want to have a neutral palette that has a little bit of twist, you know, that is not a neutral palette with a pop of color, but is a neutral palette that still offers you like a little bit of a different thing than the usual neutral palette does. I really like this one. I do think that these colors are working really well. They blend easily. This is a typical Blush Tribe formula in case you're familiar with it. If you're not familiar with it, very pigmented, but in a way that you can decide a bit by yourself. You can sheer it out, you can build it up. It's, as I said, like not this crazy pigmented as a Dragon Child palette, but it is really nice. I really like it. I would definitely actually rebuy this one rather than the Fall Fusion, which initially I didn't think so, but I'm surprised and I'm really happy I picked it up, and I think if I would lose it, I would definitely re-pick it up. But if you're really like into super colorful looks, then maybe this is not for you. This is really more of a different kind of neutral palette. So if you're looking for very colorful palettes like Dragon Child palette style, then this one will be not for you. But if you're looking for this kind of a bit different neutral palette, then I think then you can definitely go with this one. That's how I use it and how I love it. So yeah. Well, that's it. These were all the palettes that I wanted to discuss. I really like it. The puppy slept through it, so that's really cool. I'm gonna play with him now, so I'm gonna end it here. So let me know in the comments down below if you have any of these palettes and how you like them. Let me also know if you want to see something with one of those palettes, because with some of them I didn't do anything on my channel so far. So let me know if you want to see something, just to see a bit more for yourself, if you would be interested in one of those those palettes. And yeah, so that rounds it up for today. And yeah, please give this video a thumbs up if you like this kind of videos. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, so I can see you here in my next video. Bye bye with the blue finger.